Welcome to the March 10th, 2026 work and special sessions of the Board of Education. This is Kristen Pappas, Vice President of the Board of Education speaking. Thank you for attending in person or through Zoom. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Due notice of this meeting has been provided to the public and each member of the Board of Education as required by law. Tina, will you please take attendance? Present.
Thank you. Present. Present. Present.
Present.
Present.
Present.
May I have a motion to accept the agenda for the March 10th, 2026 work session as presented? All in favor?
Aye.
First, we would like to welcome our Garden City Band, who is going to share about their Disney experience with us.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Miss Regan. I'm the coordinator for music and the arts. We just got back from Disney about a month ago, and it was truly a life-changing experience, I would say, for our students. They just want to share about it, and they asked to be here tonight to share their experience with everyone. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Delamonica and the students now.
All right, thank you. I'm Dan Delamonica. I'm the high school band director. We're going to start off by just showing a brief clip, a collage of our trip with some pictures, and then a video of our performance. This was at the Waterside Theater at Disney Springs. So we're just going to show a couple minutes from the start of that performance as well. So enjoy.
Are proud to present the Garden City High School Concert Band from Garden City, New York, under the direction of Daniel Delamonica. Please welcome to the Advent Health Waterside stage the Garden City High School Concert Band.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was really cool experience because at the top with the lights, they definitely had the music and was queuing up the lights with their music. It was great. So thank you. So we have a couple students who are going to speak here. First, I have Ben.
Hi, my name is Ben Seifert. I'm a sophomore. I went on the Band Disney trip this year, and I felt that like all the rehearsals definitely brought us together as a family. It made it just the band just feel way more comfortable for me. Um, I made friendships with people I normally wouldn't hang out with on this trip. And at first, I wasn't really pushing myself in band, but the trip made me realize that I have to keep pushing myself and improve to audition for that upper band and play NYSSMA this year.
Hello, my name is Colin Diebrich, and I'm a freshman, and I play the bass clarinet in the symphonic band. For some of us, this is our first time flying and going on a trip outside, away from our parents, and so we had to learn to be responsible and taking ourselves and like holding ourselves accountable. I had a great trip, and I would like to do this before I graduate again.
Hi, my name is Michaela. I'm a senior. This is my 4th year in band in high school, and I was also fortunate enough to go on the trip. I'm going to talk about the workshop a little bit. That was one of the opportunities we had on the trip. We performed under a professional saxophonist who plays professionally both at Disney and in other places. It really helped with our sight reading. We played a lot together and modeled what professionals do, where they don't have that much time to practice and then they put their performance together really quickly. We also got to play with click tracks and headphones. So pretty much what that means is we listened to like the background orchestral music and it kept us all on time, and then we played on top of that. It was really, really cool. We also got like the scene from the music, like that the music's from, and they put our sound over the scene in the movie. So we like made a whole movie scene in like 30 minutes. It was really, really cool.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Aiden Classic. I am the student band director of the Wind Ensemble. This is my 4th year in band. Loved every minute of it. One of the coolest moments that I felt was stepping foot on the stage inside of the park. And not only is it a different experience to play outside and having the wind blowing in your face while like your music's flying all over the place, but it was also really cool that we were able to play not just in front of our family and friends, but we got to play for real people. Sorry, you know what I meant. I meant people outside of our family. But it truly was a special experience to recognize that we're playing for something more than ourselves. We're playing to earn recognition from other people. And many people stopped by, they recorded videos, they took photos of us, they actually listened to the music and thoroughly enjoyed it. And by the end of it, I think more than sorry, everybody. More than half the seats were filled, and there were so many people just sitting there and watching us. And it truly was just such a special experience. And I want to thank Mr. Delamonica and Ms. Regan and everybody involved for helping set that up. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm also a senior. I play the flute, and I'm also a student director along with Michaela for our band. I just wanted to talk about how while the trip was obviously very well organized by Ms. Regan and Mr. Delmonica and all the other administration, we had a certain degree of freedom. So we had to learn about like time management, like getting to certain places on time, navigating our ways around the park. And I think this gave us responsibility. And as seniors going off to college, I think we can all agree that having the experience of living in a room with somebody else for a few nights, not having like someone watching over you all the time, it really helped prepare us for what the future is going to be like. And not only was it a great experience as a band, but it helped us build life skills and skills that we'll be using over the next few years in college. So thank you.
All right, great. Thank you all so much for the time. We really appreciate it. It was an incredible trip, as all the students had said. I went when I was a junior in high school, and it's been like on my bucket list for over 15 years to go as well. So I just want to thank everyone for their help and support with this and for the students. Thank you.
Can I just say a few words? I just wanted to thank our students for coming and sharing. I think every time, I think the last couple of years we've had the trip, but every time our students come back with this experience that I think they'll never forget, just like you haven't forgotten when you went. And so it's a wonderful thing that we're able to, we brought that back, the Disney trip, and I think it's been a wonderful experience. And we always appreciate every time you guys go to, when you come back and you share those stories with us. It lets us know why we have these trips. So thank you. And thank you, Mr. Delamonica, Ms. Reagan as well. Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Where do you guys should go? Picture. Go ahead. Photo. Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Your son's in there.
Yeah.
Here, I'll go with you.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, there you go. Disney.
Great job, great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
All right, we'll start with the first of our presentations for tonight. So we would like to welcome
Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman. Adam, I'm sorry. Adam Kaufman from Wendell, who is going to give us a presentation on the feasibility study on the zero emission vehicle buses.
Hi, everyone. So, yeah, I think it's working, right? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Good. So, hi, everybody. I always seem to go after something really fun and exciting. So, I don't know that I'm going to be able to meet that standard of a trip to Disney, but I'm here today. I'm Adam Kaufman. I'm with Wendell. I'm here to present on a study we did for Garden City on the feasibility of transitioning to a zero emission fleet or a battery electric bus fleet. So again, I'll do a little bit of, the team that worked on it. It's just me today. There was one team member that unfortunately couldn't be here. We'll do a little bit about the mandate. So I don't work for the state, but the state has a mandate about school districts transitioning towards a zero emission bus fleet. I'll go over a little bit of the specifics about Garden City's district and the routes that they have to drive and the feasibility of it. The utility requirements, so PSEG is your local utility. They have to be able to provide power to charge these buses, and then go into the phasing and cost of it. So obviously, capital and infrastructure costs and the cost of the buses. So I'm Adam Kaufman. I'm the middle one there. I am a project manager at Wendell. I've been here for about 10 years, and I do a lot of the tri-state area alternative fuels, zero emission vehicle work. And Ryan is someone who worked heavily on this study, but here today. So Wendell is a full service architecture and engineering firm. We have 4 core practice areas: architecture, engineering, energy efficiency, and construction management. Heavily focused in the Northeast. We have 6 offices in New York, but we're nationwide, and the shaded regions is where we do work. So the zero emission bus mandate. So the state has released a couple key dates around this mandate. The first one coming up is in 2027. So that date speaks to purchasing new school buses. So after 2027, the state's mandated that all new school bus purchases are to be zero emission. Again, zero emission means electric vehicles. And by 2035 is the end date that's currently in place, which means by that end date, the entire fleet that transports pupils or your students are to be zero emission or a battery electric bus. Basically, the Senate is requiring the state to identify the issues, the barriers to getting there, to meeting that 100% mandate. And NYSERDA, New York State Research and Development Authority, who is one of the entities that funded this initiative for Garden City, is really tasked with being the technical guidance for the school districts in the state to understand is this possible and how can I do this? There is a 2-year waiver for that first date. So 2027 is the first date coming up. There's a 2-year waiver you can apply for. It pushes that date out to 2029 to be able to purchase new buses. So what we did, we broke this down into 9 tasks. I'll go through it rather quickly. So basically, we introduce the team, we go over the timeline and the schedule. We do a lot of data collection, so heavy focus on the district to give us the routes and the buses and the sites and any infrastructure about, your existing fleet and your existing sites that we have to study. The third is about looking at individual routes. So an electric school bus doesn't have the same range capacity as a diesel school bus. So you have to be really focused on, can this school bus complete those routes? When we do this, I'll speak to it a little bit more. We're looking at a very stressful condition. So we had a pretty significant storm recently. We're looking at really cold weather, snow on the ground, things like that affects the range. The next thing we'll do is we'll look at the whole fleet together, they have to charge at certain times of the day, and what is that total charging capacity that we would need to charge not just one bus, but an entire fleet? And then we will we'll discuss with PSEG, the local utility, to say, can you guys provide that amount of power and how much will it cost? We looked at a couple different sites because the existing site where the buses are stored is rather congested. So we looked at a couple different sites for what we could do if we needed additional space. And then we basically laid out, the electrical infrastructure, conduit, charger, switchgear, and the costs associated with that transition at the sites that were selected. So a little bit about the bus routes. This is Garden City specific. So there are 66 existing district-owned route buses or school buses. Basically what we found, we are in Long Island. It's, pretty dense. And so the school buses are able to address all of the normal standard routes that Garden City drives. So 100% of the routes were able to be done. That's using really, really, really stressful models that looks at winter case conditions. And of the 1,700 sports and athletic trips we were provided, about 95 of those are feasible. There are outliers that, we would not feel comfortable saying could be done by an electric school bus. Below is basically the breakout of the products that we selected. They're type A buses, they're type D buses. Type A buses are the smaller buses. Type D buses are the longer buses with no nose. And, there's a total of 66 of them. And then we looked at the table below that is about the chargers, the charger sizes. They're all specified as DC fast chargers. So if you have a Tesla, that's normally a level 1 or a level 2 charger. These are a little bit faster and larger. This is, again, just saying, hey, when we say something works, we have a high degree of confidence that it will work. If you look at a manufacturer cut sheet, they're going to say it can go 200, 300 miles. We're going to say it can do much, much less than that, probably 50% of that. And it looks at all these different factors that takes efficiencies and weather conditions and safety factors and things like that to make sure we're confident when we say it can address a route. So we looked at a couple sites. The 20 Cherry Valley is where they're currently stored. And we looked at 2 additional sites to see if we needed additional space, which site would be more feasible or better. And so we looked at 98 Cherry Valley and 56 Cathedral Avenue, which is, I believe, across the street. Again, I think 56 Cathedral Avenue was what was selected as, additional space required, the right location for that. We looked at the power capacity requirements. So we need about 500 kVA. That's a unit of power that we would ask for from PSEG at the main site at 20 Cherry Valley. And we needed about 73 kVA at 56 Cathedral Avenue. And here is the bus layout. Basically, we broke it out in phases. I believe it's 3 phases. And it basically looks at, major electrical infrastructures in phase 1. We size switchgear, transformer, conduit, all for the entire transition. And then in the next phases, we bring on more and more buses. Here's a fire protection plan. So there's, and Wendell as an engineering firm obviously prioritizes safety. And so as part of an electric bus transition, we want to make sure there's proper fire protection associated with it. So there's, the concept plans, there's also fire protection plans. And here is the next phase of buses that would be brought on. Here is the next site. That is 56. The last phase of buses that would be brought on. And then we have some grants and incentives. So again, that was a phased out plan. There's detailed cost estimates that go with each of those. And then here is, NYSERDA not only funds the study that I'm presenting today on some of our findings, but they also fund the purchase of buses and the purchase of chargers. So this is for buses. Basically, when you buy an electric school bus, they'll give you a certain amount of incentive funding. If you add up these categories, the ones that are applicable to you, you guys are not a priority district, so that category doesn't apply to you. But you can get about $200,000 per bus in NYSERDA funding for the purchase. And here is the same New York School Bus Incentive Program for the chargers. There's two aspects of it. So because you've done the fleet electrification plan, you get additional voucher funding. It's standard at $25,000. If you've done the plan, you've done the work and the research to understand what it takes, you get an additional $30,000. It's $55,000 per charge. Here's a little overview of PSEG. PSEG also provides funding towards this. And here's something interesting. I don't know if everyone's going to be able to see it, but when you can take a deeper look, you can look deeper. It basically lays out a pretty detailed cost of infrastructure, bus purchase, fire protection, and the avoided cost of what it would be to purchase diesel buses. A schedule. So a schedule basically just shows the mandate first starts in 2027. You can get a 2-year extension to that, but purchasing buses or switchgear or transformer, a lot of large electrical materials, you don't get that overnight. It takes 6 months, 8 months to get in terms of lead times. So the process of getting there is not a light switch that you just flip up. You don't snap your fingers and it's done. It can take a little while. So again, if these are highlighting what could be next steps, again, obviously the school district will decide what makes sense for them. What's highlighted on the screen is really a pilot project. So it's basically understanding the technology, purchasing. This highlights 3 buses. So this is what leverages the existing capacity, not having to do a new transformer upgrade from PSEG. This says, hey, if I just use the existing electrical panels I have and install 3 DC fast chargers at 24 kilowatts and purchase 3 buses, here's what the cost would be. And just highlighting the normal cost of 3 diesel buses is estimated at $333,000. And the cost of purchasing 3 chargers and 3 buses with the incentive money as a pilot project would be $404,000. So it's a pretty affordable first way to say, let me understand this technology better. And that's what I have to share today. So thank you very much. I don't know if you guys have questions.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you doing the work for us. Would you mind just going back to that slide that has the total cost of the project?
Sure.
And would you mind just is it possible for you to zoom in and just name what the actual cost is of this complete plan for the community?
Yeah.
The actual number and then the number with any of the incentives. I think it's just important for the community to see the total cost of this project.
I think that's fair. So if you look at it, if you do all the buses, there's 66 total buses. We highlight the incentive money and the fire protection costs. It comes out, I know you can't really see. So total it's $30 million, $32,760,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's before the incentives.
Yep.
And then it's $28,736,000 after the incentives. So the incentives go a certain amount. The incentives are geared to get you started on this transition. So the charger incentives are capped out at about $2 million. And the bus incentives is capped out at 10 or 14 buses. So again, I think that it is a daunting number, and I think,
It's a $29 million project, right?
Yes.
To be funded by the taxpayers. All right, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Yes. I was wondering in terms of, I had 2 questions.
Yeah. Do you want to bring it?
Sorry, I had 2 questions. First was about, you talked about the different bus routes that our 66 buses take between driving to school, multiple schools in the morning, picking the kids up, and then sports and field trips and things like that. I was curious, I own an electric car, and I know on a busy day, I've got to recharge sometimes, and I know a bus and a car, different things. But I was wondering what the charge is like on a bus, if a bus is going to do that, multiple routes of to school, home from school. They have a field trip in there midday, and then, the track team's got to go to St. Anthony's and back. What does that look like for a bus that would be doing a route like that?
Yeah, so I think as part of it, we definitely take like midday charging, so charging in between the routes that they have to drive. It's really what drives the total peak number that we report to the utility. If I could go back, that would be nice, but these numbers right here are driven based off what you're saying right now. So that drives the peak that we need at the site. If you just did low and slow overnight, you wouldn't need that much power.
Mhm.
Considering they need to recharge in the middle of the day to account for afternoon field trips, athletics, that's what really drives that, higher demand essentially. But that is incorporated in the models that we did.
Okay, and so when there's a higher demand, obviously the cost of electricity costs more also then?
Depends what rate you're on.
Okay. And then the other question I had was just, sorry, I had multiple questions. Would you happen to know, in terms of fixing these buses, typically what do you see in terms of who's in charge of repairing? We have our own bus fleet, we have our own mechanics, we have our own garage. Is it that the people in our district will have to be trained to learn how to fix these buses? Or is it oftentimes, if you go through the manufacturer of the bus company, they're the ones responsible for fixing the buses if something were to break or malfunction?
Yeah, so a lot of it is standard maintenance that your mechanics will be familiar with, brakes and tires and things like that. And then there are like battery specific issues. You would want to have either your vendors or manufacturers send their techs out to do that. It's considered high voltage. So you would, it's possible you train in-house staff, but for the beginning of it especially, you would expect to call your manufacturers and vendors.
Okay, and just, I was curious, in all of these models, this is, the school districts would be purchasing the buses. It's not like it's leased or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Finance them.
You can finance it.
Yes, we finance. You can finance.
Okay.
And I mean, you wouldn't buy all of them in 1 year, so.
Yeah.
The paying for this.
So
it
you
would
want
have-
to speak in the microphone?
Sorry, it would have to be a combination of leasing and purchasing because of the dollar amounts.
Have there been other districts that have, neighboring districts that have done this feasibility study?
Yes.
Now, how does this differ for a district who contracts their buses? Are the contracting companies, are they doing their own feasibility studies, or how does that work for?
Yeah,
Is that
so the bus contractors are doing a lot of their own work. They do work with, engineering firms like us as well. The bus contractors themselves are not subject to the mandate, but the districts that hire the bus contractors are. So in turn, they are preparing for this transition themselves because in order to contract them and have the terms with the school district, they need to be subject to these mandates as well. So they are going through the same planning process.
So how do districts anticipate the costs then?
For the contractors, I don't have a great answer for you.
If I can just add, this is a topic, particularly in Nassau County, where we are so densely populated. This is something that districts, I think, all of our neighboring districts, that has been a topic of conversation since this was shared with us. What's been 2 years now? 2 years, I think, with that Governor Hochul announced this, and it is a very, very difficult situation for all school districts. So we're looking, we're actually I know in my quadrant, I don't think any of the districts have gone this route as of yet. And I'm sure there's some discussion in your group with the business officials around the same topic.
Oh, yes, quite a bit. And, we keep updated on that. as Adam had said earlier, the governor came out with the 2-year waiver for this, so we could put off the purchases of it. And seeing what's going to happen next on it, I think we're all sort of looking to see what's going to be required actually in 2029. So, but in order to qualify for the waiver, you have to do certain steps and take certain steps. One of them is to do a feasibility study. So it's good to have that roadmap in place, good to have what it would cost. That 28 million, it included all the buses?
It included all the buses.
Okay, so it's all the buses and the construction. It would be over time because obviously that would have to be financed and, a purchase plan would also have to go in place. So, the other thing is like what Adam also said is we were looking for space because things are so congested down at the bus garage. It really would be virtually impossible to keep the fleet as we know it today in that one location. So whether, what would happen with that, we'd have to decide. So this is really a first good step, gives us a lot of information and, use it for planning over the next few years.
We actually did the right thing by getting the study done. We had budgeted for the study, so I'm glad, 2 years ago, and I'm glad that we did do the study because of just the cost factor of this is pretty expensive.
Dana, I just had a question for you. If the 2027 deadline is, if we don't go for a waiver or anything like that, would we already have to start looking into budgeting for buses next budget cycle?
The following one in the
Okay.
27-28 school.
Oh, okay, not, okay.
Yes. So in 2026, you can purchase the buses.
But we will most likely file for the waiver.
We are.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
we're
what I mean.
planning on filing for the waiver. We did the feasibility study. We certainly qualify for the waiver. It's not due for a year. So, there was a lot of confusion on when you had to apply for the waiver. So
Because they
that's all
originally
been-
said this year,
Yeah,
they were
they
saying.
originally said that and then they retracted and
March
revised
2027.
the waiver, right? So, so this waives it for 27, 28 and 28, 29.
Correct.
So, we can still kind of sit back, see where this plans out. There's a lot going on. We were asking a question though. So, just to build on Kristen's question, the districts that contract buses, they're also required to do feasibility?
Yeah, I mean, so they, in theory, basically, they're going to want to apply for the waiver as well, right? So they want this 2-year extension so that they can continue their contracts with their contracted fleet. And, which is why they're also doing their feasibility study. Again, it's less of the infrastructure and more of the routes of the study. But
So
yeah.
is the expectation that they would provide the charging for the buses that are contracted?
Not necessarily. So there's different setups. A lot of different districts have different, configurations, but, they want to do the study to basically speak to at its very core, are the routes that I have to drive feasible to be done by an electric school bus? The expectation of the study is not that they're installing charging infrastructure on their site for the contractor. To one of the previous questions, the contractor is doing a lot of planning as well, but for them to apply for their waiver for 2 years in order to continue the contracts they have with the contracted fleet, they're supposed to show that they're making positive steps towards understanding the impact on them. That focuses more on the routes for those districts.
Interesting.
Good?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to continue with tonight's presentation. Our next presentation is on the 26-27 budget. This presentation includes the overview and all non-instructional areas, administrative and capital components. So Dr. Sinha and Ms. DeCapua will give that presentation for us.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Pappas. So tonight, as you know, our very first presentation that we were supposed to give, we didn't have that budget meeting because of the snow. So this particular presentation will be comprised of both the budget overview, the administrative, the revenue, the expenditure, and also the capital end of it. Oh, good. Thank you. Oh, no, that's okay. Thanks. Okay. All right. So, as with all of our work that we do in our district, we always begin with our mission. So responsibility is to create a learning environment where students have the opportunity to grow academically, socially, and personally. So this proposed budget reflects that commitment by supporting strong educational programs, safe learning environments, and responsible financial planning. And this is and before we begin, I do want to take a moment to thank all of my colleagues here, Ms. DeCaprio, Ms. McLaughlin, and Dr. Bowman, along with our administrators, our principals, and all of our administrators. The budget process, I always say it ends and it starts. So this process we've been working on the budget, I think, starting in the summer, believe it or not, in planning for what it would take. So we're very pleased to present this to you this evening. And again, tonight's presentation is the first step in a series of discussions that will take place over the coming weeks before the board considers adoption of the budget. And these are the various items that I just shared earlier that we'll be discussing today. So our total, if you look at our total proposed budget for the 26-27 school year, totals $142,385,117, representing a 3.36% increase over the current year and a tax levy increase of 2.98%, and that's within the allowable limit, that tax levy. And again, this means that the district is not proposing a tax cap override, which we'll discuss in a little bit. So who we are as a district, we are close to 4,000 students, 3,894 in-district students. We have students that go out of district. We also have our UPK program that continues to grow. In terms of our employees, we have, believe it or not, if you count all the substitutes and whatnot, and some of those ancillary positions also, it's over 900 employees that we have. Our facilities, we have 9 total facilities. And then we have our buses that we just talked about. We contract, and plus we have our own bus garage. And this year we expanded our lunch program, so we have free lunch in all of our buildings with 2 cafeterias. And we're really pleased because of our AAA bond rating. We're one of the very few districts that over the last several years we've maintained this high bond rating. And and I want to mention that because it really reflects the long-term financial planning in our district that we engage in year after year. That AAA bond rating is something to be really proud of for us. So some of the our budget reflects key priorities, including supporting our student success, maintaining safe and supportive schools, and strengthening academic and social emotional learning, and continuing to invest in facilities that support our students and staff. So you can see that the proposal reflects a careful balance between supporting our students and remaining responsible stewards of our community's resources. So this is the big picture for the school aid. So while local priorities really guide our work, the district must also operate within the financial framework established by New York State. So the proposed state budget includes a 3.6% increase in school aid statewide. All districts will receive at least 1% increase, along with the expanded UPK funding and continuation of the universal free meals. The other thing that in the proposal that the governor also proposes a requirement for instructional best practices for numeracy and the teaching of mathematics students in grades K through 5. So these are, these are the other components that we look at very carefully when we're developing the budget. All of these different variables impact our budget. So again, I just went over this earlier, these numbers, I won't repeat them again. But this, again, our budget is within the maximum allowable levy. Our property tax cap, this we share this slide every single year about how this is calculated. The property tax cap, there's a formula that the state uses, and we follow this formula for our for our tax cap. And this is another important factor with the tax base. Things that really impact our district is the change with the CPI. We did have small increase with our pilot and the capital exclusion, and all that information is up there. I'm going to turn it over to Dana. She's going to go over the revenue and the expenditures and the codes.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha. Good evening, everybody. So over the next few meetings, we're going to be talking a lot about the budget, and we're going to be concentrating on the expense side of the budget. What we do in this first presentation is we also talk about the revenue. So the revenue is the funds of how we're paying for the budget, and it must equal. So the revenue budget and the expense budget have to equal. So these are the major sources of revenue that we see, which is listed here. And I can start, and this is how they fall out, totaling the 142 million. So as we saw on the prior slide, we have state aid, local sources, pilot, which is payment in lieu of taxes. So those are properties that are not on the tax roll, but we receive money through an agreement, through a pilot agreement. Probably the biggest one that people would know is the 555 Stewart Avenue. That's the one that's actually causing much of our pilots to increase, because that was on a progressive schedule as the property stayed. So pretty much the total increase in the pilot is from that property. We have an appropriation of reserves and fund balance that we do every year. We also have monies that were left over in debt service from interest that we have made over on our debt or premiums on our borrowings. So that appropriates back to the taxpayers. We've been doing 150,000 on that for quite a while, and we can continue it. And then we have the increase in property taxes. So to Dr. Sinha had said earlier, the total budget is 142,385,117, same as the revenue budget. Just to go into a little more detail, and starting with state aid. So this is the different categories of state aid. You can see at the bottom, we have an increase of a little over $1 million. We were very, very pleased with those results. I know it's hard to see on the slide, but we saw an increase in a little bit, about 300,000 in foundation aid, but we also saw it in our reimbursement aid. So building, transportation, BOCES. There's a lot of factors that go into that, including wealth factors and assessments, and those with the changing assessments in Nassau County, it actually worked in our favor this year, and we did see some additional aid there. So the total of state aid that we're projecting is 11.7 next year, up from 10.6 in the current 25-26 budget. Continuing on revenue, these are our miscellaneous and services code. So this is everything we bring in from either interest on deposits, musical instruments, education, continuing ed fees, and so on. We also provide health services to all the non-publics that are in Garden City. And this is monies that we charge back to students that attend those schools, that we provide health services and special ed services. So that comes in as revenue to us. So there's not that big of changes in there. You could see it's totaling about 2.1 million. Last, we have the property related items and reserves. So you see there, that's the difference in real property taxes of, we have a total tax levy of 118,112,601. Our pilots are increasing about the 200,000 we saw on the prior page. The reserves and fund balance allocations are about the same. So the total at the bottom totals 142,385,117. and that is the revenue side of it. So we did not give the presentation because of the board meeting that got canceled, so we are combining two presentations tonight. What we normally would be doing is the administrative and capital, and everyone would be waiting for that, but so we're just going to start that. We did try to make it brief, I promise, but we're going to go through that. So just following through. So we break the budget up into three components: capital, program, and administrative. The arrows are showing we're talking about capital and the administrative budget tonight. So as the three-part budget, you can see the administrative is 11.56%, so it's under 12%. The program is at 75%, so the majority of our budget goes towards program, and capital is just under 13. Those numbers don't move all that often. Did you want to add?
No, I was just going to say they're pretty consistent year
Yeah.
over year.
We're going to just, both of us will be talking about these things because we both have a lot to say. But we're going through the administrative. I'm not going to go through these because we are going to go in detail, but these are all of the codes. So budget codes on school districts are not a mystery. All school districts use the same coding. It's a uniform act that we have to abide by. And so it doesn't matter what district you go to, but the 1,200 codes are going to be the superintendent, the personnel is going to be at 1430, and so on. So ours abide by that. Those are the codes that are included in the administrative side of the budget. These are the codes that are included in the capital side of the budget. Okay. We are going tonight to talk about transportation because, and some of the non-instructional codes, we do that because we really don't talk about it in our program. At the same time, Dr. Bowman's codes that are they sit in the administrative side, but we usually go over those when we talk about program because she has so much bearing on that part of it. So that's where we are. So we usually start this presentation and we talk about where we are with our current capital projects. Last year, we voted on the bond and started all of those projects. So those are listed here. Many of them were completed in the summer. Many of them are still open, but we have had some great success. And we actually, last year, you would have seen these with not done pictures, but here we have some done pictures. So the one on the bottom right is really the most exciting. So if you haven't seen, but the addition, the steel is in the process of being put up. That's a few weeks old. So we have even more, and they're starting to do the decking on the second floor and on the roof.
I think they
So-
started putting you can see the two floors now in
Yes.
addition, which is.
So it's really come along. But what we've done since the summer, since the 25-26 summer of this year, although a lot of the planning and the purchasing and the bidding was done before that, but we actually got started on all of these projects here. So, the boilers, the gym here at the high school was completed this summer, bleacher replacements. We changed out the divider curtain, which is in the picture on the top left. The athletic addition is in the process, and that's going to have concession and outdoor bathrooms, which not only is good for spectators, but it's also good for the building that we don't have to have people walking through. So from a safety perspective, we're very excited about that. We have all the turf fields are finished. We were just on the field today going over and looking at the sod because outside of the turf, we do have some sod and that has started to take. So it's knitting in, and we were very, very pleased with what we saw today to get kids out there. I believe they went today because I told them a few hours earlier, you're good to go.
Yeah.
So, we still have some restrictions because we don't want hard play on it yet. As much time as much growing we can give. So that's good.
Yeah, the snow did help with those projects. So,
Um,
but I'm glad the kids can go out on those, the baseball and the softball and the multi-purpose field as well.
Right. So the air conditioning projects at the high school have not started yet. You'll see on the next slide, all of the others have been done, but the air conditioning and a lot of that work is being done this summer with the interior work. We did find out during this project that our electrical service was not enough. PSE&G did not approve. While our building was rated, their transformer was not. So they are having us replace the transformer, and that's become part of this project. We get these, that was, that's actually in the process, and we're actually bidding that out. I believe we're opening up in next week or the week after those bids. We did replace the turf and the netting. Actually, that's being bid out also, and that's going to happen this summer. And the air conditioning in this building is also out to bid. Just finishing up the projects. These are mostly the air conditioning projects that we did this summer, and those are all done. We also did the cement repair and the HVAC upgrades at the building. For those of you that have seen at Stewart School, we did add that parking lot, which we've gotten very good feedback on. And we've also done a lot of beautification. So all of that is in the things on this page have really been completed. Okay. Part of the general fund budget includes a transfer to capital. This year, and in the 26-27, we are proposing a transfer to capital of 1.2 million. That was 2.3 million last year. When we came out with the bond and all of that proposal, we had said we were going to reduce it so that we did not fluctuate the tax levy with it. So you'll see later that the transfer to capital went down the 1.1 million and the debt service went up the 1.1 million. That's what we talked to the taxpayers about, being levy neutral, and that is why. I will add that next year is the last year of the NH performance contract, so the plan is really to bring that right back to 2.2 starting in the 27-28 budget, but we knew that we were going to be down here in 1 year. For next year, these are the projects that we are proposing. Some of it is towards the roof projects that I'm going to talk about in a little while, but this is towards the roof at the middle school, and we'll talk about that because it's an expensive and another project. But these are the other things that we're looking to do. Some enhancements for athletics on the fields. They need some replacement backboards. We actually need 10 of them replaced. Our plan is to do some each year, so that's going to be the first 3. Technology has their 5-year plan that Ms. McGuire will talk about later on, and that technology infrastructure supports that. We have beautification, and what we mean by that is that we have peeling paint and stairs and other things in each of the buildings that we have been working on, and that will continue that work. We do need a tractor for buildings and grounds, and then we have masonry and repair. That masonry and repair pointing is going to also be part of the middle school, because you'll see on a couple of slides that we'll be doing some work there. We've already started the permanent lockers for the locker room. We started with some grant money this year, and that finishes it up.
That's for the middle school project so our students, our goal is to have lockers that are with the locks right on which would be much better that we have that at the high school.
And then the music storage is something that they've needed at the middle school for a bit, and Ms. Regan had come to us with an idea for this, and that's in support of that idea. So that is all part of the capital side of the general fund budget. In this coming budget vote, we are going to have 4 propositions on the 4 resolutions on the ballot. One of them will be for the budget. The second is going to be for the use of the capital reserve. And so we have a capital reserve that we have saved money in. And we are looking, as part of that, we're required to go out to the taxpayers when we want to spend those funds. And this is one of those times. In addition to that, we have money in capital, so uncommitted funds in capital. A few years ago, we had put money away or money aside to redo the courtyard, actually outside in this building. It became a much larger project, and we had thought better of not doing it. So we're at the point that we have decided, along with the high school administration, that we're not going to do that project, and we would like now to go back to the taxpayers and commit it for other purposes. So we are looking for both the capital reserve, so the authorization to spend. So we have this money in hand. It does not impact the tax levy. It does not impact the budget. We have this money in hand between the capital reserves and money in the capital of 13.6. And we are looking to continue to do some of our roof replacements. The full roof replacement for the middle school is a little over 6 million. These are old buildings. They're expensive to replace. And this is why we save the money up, because we know that having to do these out of your regular budget would eat into program. And we have been talking about this for many years, about ways of saving ahead of time so that we don't have to do that. This is that time. So we are looking to do the roof replacement and the window replacements at Garden City Middle School. The windows are old. They have the storm windows inside. We're having leaking issues on them, and we're seeing water coming in several classrooms and in other rooms, and it's being recommended that we replace them. The reason we have some of the pointing money that I had in the last slide is really to support this project. And there will likely be some abatement along with it also. So that's what happens. So some of the mortar and things like that, you have to get abated during these projects. So this is money out of there. We also, one of the last projects this is the last of the primary schools, but their warranty on their roof is up for Hemlock School and the administration building, which is a much smaller project, but this finishes the roofs.
We've done them all. We've done the two primaries. This is the last primary. We've done
The high school.
the high school Stratford. We
And
did
Stewart.
that, and Stewart.
Yes, Stewart was the last big project. So these are those. So really the whole capital reserve is, I'm going to say it's for infrastructure because it's really for that envelope of the building.
And this is all you can spend I mean, we actually do in our district because of all the facilities we have. You have to put the money aside for these projects, and they are very, very costly.
So budget would be the first resolution, spending of the capital reserve and authorizing any excess funds in capital would be the second one. The third one we were going to talk about is a new capital reserve. So as we said, we have been saving all along. We've pretty much used up that last capital reserve. There's a little bit more in there that we'll be able to authorize with the next group of projects, but for the most part, that's used up. So we are looking to go back out to the taxpayers and open up a capital reserve. Again, we're not funding it today. It doesn't cost anything. It's just where we would be saving the money for any budgetary savings or any unanticipated revenues. So this is the capital reserve. So a capital reserve is really that rainy day savings account for the purpose. So you can use the capital reserve for anything that you would normally go and borrow for. So any of the capital money so that you could go and do bonding, you can use the capital reserve for. This targets the total. We have 10 years that we can keep it open. The total amount to accrue over time, we're looking for 11 million. And that would be over the years. We would be saving for that. So we just have some more information on it, but it's most of this I've said already, how reserves can be spent, how the reserve. But what I would tell you is that in order to establish the reserve, in order to spend the reserve, the taxpayers have to approve. So just because we're opening the reserve today, you don't have to feel that we wouldn't know where the money is being spent. That would come same as we're going to have a resolution on or a proposition on this ballot. We would have a proposition on any other ballot to spend more on capital reserve. The voters approve all capital projects. Okay, so we have finished the capital. We finished the capital reserve spending, and we finished the discussion on the new capital reserve. Now we can get to what we usually talk about, which is just the general fund budget. So here you have the general fund budget. This is broken down into its major expense areas. I'm not going to go into detail because people are going to kill me, but it's really broken down. We show this same slide on every presentation. It breaks it down between salaries, equipment, contract, tuitions, and so on. It's a really nice way to look at it. You can see all combined what BOCES costs, Debt service, that's where you can see that debt service went up 1.1. And if you look 2 lines down, you can see capital projects went down the 1.1. That's what I was talking about of tax levy neutral. And there, those are where it's broken down. This is, so earlier I had showed you the codes that we have for on the administrative side of the budget. There's really no great changes here. And it really shows you, so Board of Education, central admin, which is really consumes codes, business is going to be mine, legal services are for all of those, for all of the legal services that we have and those expenses. There's, some changes there, but this really handles everything in those codes. So like, let's say in the business office, it's going to cover the 430 or 453,000 is going to cover all expenses for my office, auditors, all of those kind of things. I'm sorry, that 1.4, the 453 is in consumes, but the 1399 codes, that 1.4 million is going to cover all the auditors, all of the transactional expenses, all of the business office, my office, all of those. And that's really the same for all of them. Continuing on administration, you have personnel, which is Miss McLaughlin's offices. So she has 1.5 secretaries, her office. They handle training, comes out of there, advertising comes out of there. So all of those are broken down. We have the full budget on the website. And when you look through the 1430, it would name all of them. She also handles community relations. So that's the 1480 codes that we have printing. Insurances are on there. You'll notice at the top of the page that even though we're covering these tonight, and this is what I was talking about earlier, that these actually show up on the program side of the budget, but we go through this because they're really non-instructional in nature. The transportation codes, you do see a dollar amount change of 800,000. We are seeing in there about 100,000 of that is for equipment. Mostly this a little bit for salaries, but really what we're seeing big increases on is just in contract transportation. We saw it this year, and then it's continuing for next year. A lot of the contractors, the new contracts are coming in very high, and we're budgeting for them. So we did see that some of it is making up for this year, some of it is going into next. That's really what the biggest change is there. The school census, I know that always looks weird, but we do a enrollment study every other year. That's something Ms. McLaughlin does. Every other year it's on. This year it's on, next year it's off. So it comes in and it comes out, and you show it. Not a big dollar amount, but there it is. And then this is the capital side of the budget and benefits. So 1620 is the codes, the buildings and grounds codes that cover the actual buildings. 1621 is the maintainers and the groundskeepers. So that's really more of a district-wide code. Those are the capital projects that we talked about. So I think I had said we're going from 2.3 in the current school year to 1.2 next year, which was planned. The debt service kind of evens that out, and then employee benefits. With employee benefits, we are seeing increases in some of the retirement and health insurance. So, that's showing up there. We do budget, we are budgeting. So health insurance is covered on a calendar year. So we know what the premium's going to be for July through December. We do budget a 10% increase in premiums for the second half of the year. So you can see that 5% is probably mostly in there, that 5% increase. And that's it for me.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, you did too, but-
So as Mr. Capio were just sharing the 4 items on the ballot for May 19th is the school district budget, the use of capital reserves, and that includes the reallocation of the unused capital funds that she was mentioning earlier, establishing a new capital reserve, and then election of one Board of Education trustee. This is our calendar, our next presentation is, instructional part 1. And then followed by part 2. Part 2 includes special education, athletics, technology. That'll be for part 2. But I do want to mention that this budget, this proposed budget, it's, I hope we've given you a good overview of this, but it has been really, there's been real careful planning that has taken place for this budget. And we are very much committed to ensuring that we have a, again, a dialogue with our, of course, our Board of Education and our community. We do take input because this is where, as we're developing it, this is why we share it, full transparency in terms of how the money is being spent. And then questions.
I have a question. I was just wondering, 2 things. This is very small, but I was curious more than anything, was the 23% increase in textbooks. And I was also wondering, if the budget passes, do you look to start doing the roof work this summer? How does that work for if that all is approved with the 3 roofs? When does that work start?
Okay, so so a lot of the increase in textbooks has to do with literacy. And Dr. Bowman is going to be going into great detail on that when we talk about instruction. But the majority of that's probably the biggest code that changed. And that the first year that we roll out any new materials like that, they're always budgeted in the central curriculum codes. And then after that, any replacement books and so on are going there.
Oh, okay.
I will also say that Christina Cardella has done an outstanding job in keeping the costs for our math workbooks and those materials in check. And somehow she got them to keep the prices the same for the last 3 years. We are seeing an increase there. So we do have monies in each of the buildings for increases in math
And literacy is
science, and there was something
because we'll be adopting a
street
new
things.
resource.
So it was definitely science kits. It was definitely maybe it was just literacy.
Yeah, it's literacy is the big bulk
Yes.
of it.
So we are seeing those probably in both, we're seeing those in both codes, both on the, both on the district side and in the buildings. So I know it's not huge numbers compared to it, but
No,
we appreciate you asking.
yes, no, it was an increase.
As far as the roofs, what happens is, so the first thing we do is get voter approval, and we get voter approval hopefully in May. What happens is the next steps is that it really gets handed over to the architects, and we have to get SECRA done, which is the environmental impact study. These things get drawn by the architect and they go up to the state for review. What our goal usually is to have it up to the state by, I'm going to say November,
Okay.
December.
Okay.
And depending on, sometimes the state, doesn't have a lot of backlog and we get them back in 2 or 3 months, and sometimes we don't. So we're always, I think in best case scenario is that we get it back in February, March, it goes out to bid, and we start the work that following summer.
Got it.
So that is generally what we do.
Okay.
I would say in the more recent past, like these groups very much worked in that. In fact, SCD was so fast, we got these bids out early and we got beautiful
A
pricing.
couple of years ago, it was
Yeah.
bad.
Couple of years ago, we had to postpone the projects a year. So, I don't want to say.
Yeah, no, I was just curious
Yeah.
how that process starts.
I know it's outside, but there's a lot of noise with roofs and the rip-off is messy.
Yeah.
So we try to get those really are summer.
Yeah, summer month
roofs.
projects.
So our target would be a year from this summer.
Got it.
That's why this year, we're now, so in the current year's budget, we had permission to do the field and the netting and the air conditioning. We're out to bid as we speak.
Right.
So that's why. So the board would then approve those bids, then we go into contract, and then we start again. And that's some of the work that we'll be doing this coming summer.
Okay.
So it'll be hipping and hopping up here again, you know, because we're going to be finishing up the interior work,
Right.
you know, the science rooms, what's going on in the business rooms, the art room. We're going to be finishing up, you know, the addition and this air conditioning and the field.
field.
So we're really, you know, no other stuff here. So, so right after graduation, it's like they're up and ready.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I don't have any additional questions, but I just wanted to say thank you very much for all of the hard work that goes into creating this presentation and creating this budget for us. Staying within the tax cap, I think, is really important, but that we're still able to invest in a lot of projects to improve our buildings. We'll be continuing with our pre-K program,
Yes.
which has been expanding, which is wonderful.
So the universal pre-K, that money does not get contracted through, it doesn't get processed through the general fund. All of that is through the special aid fund. So I'm glad you brought it up because that's important. We're in very good shape. Dr. Bowman's been working on that for, so yes, she's been working on it for this year, and all of the funding, you know, some districts don't get the same funding we did. This is a grant that we applied for 3 years ago, 2 years ago, that we were very lucky to get. So we are able to really fully fund it through the special aid fund, which is terrific. Not everybody has that luxury. And, you know, so on. So, and the governor's proposal, by the way, it actually has, you know, the same $10,000 per student, with no cap. So it would continue to be able to, fund as many classrooms and as many seats as we can. So, yeah, the amount that they gave is just an estimate they came up with, but there's language in there. Whether that goes through to the final budget or not, we don't know, but it is in the proposal.
What is the UPK enrollment for next year? Did it go up?
Alice.
So we are just about working our way through the end of the wait list of lottery submissions, and we have 154 seats, and it looks like we will have 154 students. We will have been able to offer a seat to every person who put their name into the lottery. We did have some families decline the offer, and that's their purview, of course. And so we will have gotten through everyone to offer them a spot. Now, like I said, some people decline it based on personal preference and logistical things with families and whatnot, but we're excited to say that we'll be full and we got to everybody.
I do want to mention, I mean, Dr. Bowman has done a significant amount of work. The lottery is pretty extensive, and making phone calls and making sure that we go through that list, the waiting list. There's a whole process that you have to follow right to the T. So thank you for that, Dr. Bowman.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. So this is the time period designated for the public to address the board. Only on the presentation we have given, questions or comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. A maximum of 30 minutes will be set aside for public comment. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address.
It's not for next year.
And the middle school has so many amazing things going on. The favorites in our house are the math program, which both of my kids have really thrived in. Focus on community service, the music program. These are things that my family has enjoyed, but there are so many great things at the middle school. As I'm sure you're aware, there are also some things that need to be worked on. I do appreciate the windows and the roof because I've heard a lot about the being classrooms and the problems with that. I'm not gonna say that I'm able to really follow all the budgetary stuff and the differences between bonds and capital reserve. I don't really understand that, but I would like to advocate for us putting it on our radar that the auditorium at the middle school really needs a lot of work. Additionally, I'm on the site things committee at the middle school. I went in there the other day and asked to use the bathroom, and I was like sort of horrified. There was actually a shower curtain covering the window. There was a coat rack from like the 1920s in the corner. After I was done using the restroom, there was no paper towels. I was able to shake my hands right from my jeans, but that was an unfortunate situation as I was heading to a meeting. I don't know, why that's the case, but this is a faculty bathroom, and I feel like when we treat our faculty well and we provide like nice spaces for them, that trickles down to the students. I'd also like to advocate for monitors at the middle school. This week, my kids found out they're going to be able to go outside every other day, which is amazing for home days. I don't know how that would be included at the budget, but the elementary schools have bus drivers that go outside and monitor recess. I feel like if the teachers could continue to work on lesson planning and days of students and, doing all the important work that they need to do, it would be so great to have some outdoor monitors for home-based time. I'd also like for us to reconsider putting everyday gym back in as an elective, especially for the boys who need to be moving around. I'm really disappointed to see the everyday gym taken out of the electives at the middle school. That's just been something that a lot of the kids have really enjoyed. I'm not sure I was able to understand why that was taken out when I asked. I didn't get a clear vision of why that was taken out. And one more thing, just moving forward, the class of 2030 is going to be starting at the high school next year. So when they transition, I know I mentioned this the last one, but when they transition into a new building every year, it seems to be this like big groundbreaking thing, and we're not ready for it. So maybe if we start thinking about that now and talking with the high school administrators, maybe we can be a little more prepared for that as they move into the next step. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something? Ms. Hogan, I just want to let you know, so the next two budget presentations are going to be on instruction 1 and 2. We will go into detail about FTEs and staff and curriculum and what's going to.
And we're very prepared.
Yes.
You're going to be,
So-
nope, you're going to be very pleased.
So, yeah. So, yeah, we do a 5-year building condition survey. And so there's a lot of projects out there, and I agree with you. There's definitely, staff bathrooms, there's some student bathrooms. We've been talking about that. We do have to make the decision every year. There's just so much you can do in 1 year. So heard on the list, and I think, over time we'll have to address those things. But the other stuff, I think a lot of that'll be answered in the next few weeks. Thank you.
You guys, you can pull that down.
Or maybe,
Yeah.
take it
Pull
off.
it out so you
Yeah.
can pop into it. You got it?
There you go.
No,
There you go.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you
You
for
did a
sharing the
great
music-
job, both of you.
And you have-
Yeah. And you know what? I think you will be going outside when you get into sixth grade. Okay. So that you did a great job, both of you, advocating for recess. Thank you.
Now you have to top them.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for a both thorough and concise presentation. I don't know how to manage that, but you did. You actually make huge budget, very difficult topics, understanding. Really, truly appreciate. Thank you very much. I just have a question that I'm curious about. As far as that state aid increase of $1 million, I'd like to know if that's trending upward or does that fluctuate year over year, or is it arbitrary? Is there something that leads to that?
It's not arbitrary. A lot of it has to do with, so foundation aid, where we did see some increases, there's a hold harmless on foundation aid. So that really, I mean, you wouldn't see that as it sits in law right now ever go down. So, because there is a hold harmless there. There was Sim had said earlier in the presentation, when you look at the state budget, last year there was a 2% increase for anyone on hold harmless. This year in the governor's proposal, there was just a 1%. So the foundation aid as it sits is very strong. On the building aid, transportation, and BOCES aid, that could fluctuate, but not on, the formula doesn't fluctuate, but the percentage of aid, which are the wealth factors and assessments, are what drives a lot of that. What are we expecting over time? I mean, they're solid. They're solid where they are. And I got on the phone with the state. I had a session with state aid planning, went through all the details. They're good numbers. So it looks good.
Thank you.
May I have a motion that there is no further business to come before the board? The work session should be adjourned and the special session should be opened. All in favor?
Aye.
The special session is now open and all members of the board are present except for Joe Cilio, who is excused. May I have a motion to accept the agenda for the March 10th, 2026 special session as presented? All in favor? We'll start with the treasurer's report. Ms. DeCapua, please proceed with the December 2025 treasurer's report.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Mhm.
This is the treasurer's report for December 2025. We had a cash balance at the beginning of the month of $87,228,750. During December, we had receipts of $3,344,142. We had disbursements of $15,169,947, leaving us with a closing balance of $75,402,945. Thank you.
And then Dr. Sinha will just give a quick superintendent's update.
Yeah, just two quick things that I wanted to mention. One was just the middle school musical, which was a wonderful this past weekend. I know some of you went to the musical. It was phenomenal. And I just want to commend our students. We see students up on stage that you would never think they'd be up
were
on stage
fabulous.
singing and performing. And our teachers and staff, they do a phenomenal job. So it was spectacular, the talent there. And then this weekend, we have Footloose coming up for our high school musical. And, the musicals, when you see them from elementary, middle, and high school, it is incredible what these kids are able to do and what our teachers, what they do with the students. So I'm looking forward to seeing Footloose. I also wanted to mention our girls basketball team. They did a great job, and they're headed to the Nassau County Champions, which is tomorrow, Stony Brook. So we're excited. The girls had a wonderful, wonderful season, and we wish them best of luck for tomorrow. And then just on the agenda, wanted to mention the calendar is on the agenda, an amended calendar. The dates are all the same. What we did is, we had the unexpected snow this year. So in our district, we've had 3 days due to snow days, and we have those makeup days. What we did was with this calendar is we've added 2 additional snow days as makeup days if that happened. And the reason we did that was because, if we go remote instruction, that's a day of school. That doesn't count as snow days. But say, for example, there is, there are power outages or whatever it may be, and the school is closed, and there's no remote day, then those days we'd have to make up. So, we're going to change the wording a little bit at the, what that means. Day 1 makeup, day 2, day 3. And the 2 additional makeup days would be in the April break, the 30th and the 29th. So we're going to update that. And then, again, the days don't change. It's just adding more snow days into the calendar. Okay. And that we wanted to make sure that our parents are aware of. So we will send this out to our parents as well. When I give my update to the community, I'll add this so they're aware of it. And I also wanted to take an opportunity to thank our grounds and facilities and transportation department with the snow. They did tremendous job cleaning and clearing out. It was, I think they were here for a good 1.5 days doing that work. So really, we want to thank them. And then another item that we have on the agenda, we have a donation of $6,000 from the New York Giants. If you remember, Coach Ettinger was invited to the Super Bowl, and we received this donation. We'll be spending it on uniforms. And then on the agenda, you also have the Capital Reserve Fund use proposition is also on the agenda. Thank you.
Does the board have any questions on the agenda?
I just want to clarify, you said we're adding more snow days, but we're not adding more snow days, we're adding more snow makeup days.
That snow makeup days,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you for the clarification. Yep, snow makeup days.
Any other questions? This is the time period designated for the public to address the board. Questions or comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. A maximum of 30 minutes will be set aside for public comment. This will allow the board to complete the agenda, which often has personnel or time-sensitive matters. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address. Okay, no questions or comments. To make more efficient use of meeting time, the Board of Agenda authorizes the use of a consent agenda as part of the meeting agenda. A consent agenda allows for one motion to approve multiple items, and such items are identified as such on the agenda. The Vice President of the Board will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda and will ask if the board members wish to have any discussion or clarification. Following the discussion, the board will then vote on the consent agenda motion. In addition, a board member may request to have an item removed from the consent agenda in order to vote on the motion separately. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes business of the board matters F1 and F2, personnel matters G1 through G3, and business matters H1 through H6. All in favor?
Aye.
Does the administration have any new business?
No.
No. Does the board have any new business? Okay. Our future Board of Education meeting, our next meeting will be on Tuesday, March 24th, a regular session at 7:30 here at the Garden City High School. May I have a motion that being no further business is to come before the board? All in favor?